What's up, guys? We are back with another review, taking a look at the deep ones, 2 of, I believe, 4, from the folks over at StarArc. So these are essentially Lovecraftian, Cthulhu Mythos deep ones. So that's like a goblin-esque, mutated merman type of situation. So if you're into that side of stuff, this might have your attention. I got these from the folks over at Bombusbee. They sent these over for review. So as usual, for something like that, there's going to be a link down below in the description if you want to snag a few for yourself. Now, as far as packaging goes, fairly basic on something like this. Not really a lot on anything. There's sort of this sunken motif on the front. You've got the figure in the window. There's nothing really on the spines. And then the back gives you a little bit of a write-up, and it gives you one product shot showcasing everything this dude comes with. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go. Out of the package are StarArc deep ones. Well, the deep one, I suppose. This is just one of them. We'll take a look at the red one, red with the accents on them, for articulation's sake, and see what these guys can do. They are the same figures in terms of build and how they move around. And these are fairly standard. There's nothing too crazy about them. They're a little on the weird side in some areas, but they have kind of an odd, goofy form factor too. It's a goblin merman, basically, if you really want to put a category to it. So it does have a bit of a different form factor. So as far as articulation goes, as far as moving them around, you can go up a little bit on the head. They don't go down, though. You do have tilt side to side. You've got rotation, but it's a forward-facing neck, so you get like that, like a quizzical look. The jaws do open pretty good, though, so that's kind of nice. Arms go out at the shoulders. This is one of the areas that's kind of weird, but this is because the arms are meant to be swappable. They all have I think they all have just one swappable arm of varying types. So these are just in here with ball pegs. So they do afford some shimmy a little bit. It's not going to really give you much more range, but it allows you to pop the arms off. So they go up and around and out. You've got a bicep swivel. We've got double jointed elbows, like really good range there. Nothing getting in the way. You've got ball hinge wrists, so up and down and then swivel, and then of course move the ball and you'll get different directions out of it. You've got a diaphragm cut, so that's your swivel point. There is a little tilt side to side, not much, and then some forward crunch. That's really it. This is like the one area where I'd say he's definitely more locked down than other things. There's not much range on the torso. You can get him to sort of rear back a little bit and kind of get that gut up off of him. But he is meant to be in like kind of a squatty kind of pose like this, and it is very much seems to be structured that way. You've also got a traditional waist twist down here also. Legs go out only a little bit, really about that far. They kick forward, they kick backwards. Got these to talk about in a bit. These are kind of a frustration point, but it's just like their loincloth is how it's situated. You've got a thigh swivel there. We've got double jointed knees, and they go back pretty good. Like that's pretty much all the way. For such a small leg, I think that's all right. And then you've got a little bit of rocker down here. You've got really good hinges and rotation because these are ball hinges. So they don't have a lot of rocker. It's very, very slight at best to get them to kind of swivel around that. But overwhelmingly, it's just more of a standard ball hinge type of foot. Ankle setup. They move okay. Like they're not the most dynamic figures you've ever encountered. They're not going to be the most dynamic figures on your shelf. But I think they're meant to be kind of a certain thing. They're meant to be these oddly shaped, vaguely humanoid fish dudes with really weird proportions and build. So they're going to move, kind of weird as a result. Joints are nice, tight, not too loose out of the box. Nothing really posing, no pun intended, a problem moving these guys around. Now, all that said about articulation, I really think the main draw for these is, not counting accessories yet, it's just the visuals and what they are and, kind of what they might be able to represent on your shelf, what you might be able to put them with. If you're a Lovecraft guy, if you're a Cthulhu Mythos kind of fan, I mean, this is right up your alley. This is in your wheelhouse. And I think, just in general, the way these things turned out, I think looks really great. They're really wild looking. They've got great paint apps, great sculpt on them. They've got some oddities to them for sure, because one thing I didn't even talk about is this weird stuff on their torso. So like the red one has like these fins. They're sort of like fins and spines. But the purple guy here has an actual ship's wheel on it. And these are movable. They're like, they sort of hold them together almost. So this guy's got one that he's wearing around his waist almost, but then this guy has fins. So they do have some differences about them. Overwhelmingly, these figures are exactly the same. There are some differences with accessories, but then they also have different paint apps and different color schemes. Like I said, there are, I believe, 4 of these, and these are 2. So this is the red one, and then this is the purple one, in terms of, their accent colors on their fins and everything. One of the things I like most about them, though, is the backside. There's a lot of scaly texture back here. This part of it right here in particular, if you're a Ghibli guy, or if you're into anime, this really reminds me of the ohms from Nausicaa. That's where I'm getting those kind of vibes when I look at this like big hump that's on its back. It does have a tail. This thing doesn't really. I mean, it moves, but it doesn't really move. It just sort of sits there. But you've got everything that sort of looks like some sort of mutated fish man, mutated merman, mermaid, whatever you want to call them. I don't like the loincloth piece. I'm not a big fan of this. Not that it doesn't work. You don't necessarily need it, because there is, trunks down there, whatever you want to call them. It just sort of sits there. I'm not a big fan of that. I feel like I'm going to lose it at some point. It does work, and it sits in place. I'm just concerned about it. They do have really weird proportions. So like this guy's arms, their arms go down almost to their feet. They're almost touching the tops of their feet in most cases. So they do have really squatty, really odd proportions. I suppose we should do a size comparison of at least something. So I guess let's just do that right now. And just, for my money, this is likely what I would be throwing them up against, or something like it anyway. So here they are with a Mythic Legions figure. Here is the Sir Gideon Heavensbrand 2 from the Necronominus wave. So these guys are small. They're not super small, but they're also thick and chunky and beefy. So they do have a lot going on here. They're just short, really, is all it is. So you get an idea of exactly how tall they are. But I do think they look really good, and I do need to highlight the paint apps on them. Paint is really clean, outside of the fact that it's meant to look dirty and gunky and grimy. It is very clean. The eyes have a nice sort of finish to them. There's these little hits of metallic on their gills here. The fins and everything, like, I really like these little pieces because they do move also, just to sort of get things out of the way and to kind of posture things a little bit, so you can have those like maybe a more aggressive look where they're sort of sitting forward, or you can push them back and he's relaxed now. But I do think these look really cool. Detail's nice. Sculpt is great. Paint is really well done. There's a lot of it too. Like, these guys are covered in paint pretty much from head to toe. The mouth on them does allow for, a bit of a change up of their expression, the intent behind what you're maybe doing with your display or whatever shot you're going for. So there is a lot here, from all the little doodads around their waist to the tail to the fins, these, big things on their back, whatever you want to call this, the big hump back there with the spines and everything. They very much evoke for me a very Cthulhu kind of look, a very mutated merman type of feeling, and they are squatty to be like goblins and little guys running around in the muck and the grime doing whoever's bidding. So I think they very much fit the bill across the board, really, in the visual department when it comes to being a nice representation on your shelf for anything Cthulhu. Now, as far as accessories goes, these guys are pretty well loaded, and what I really, really like about them both are not only the ways that you can change up their appearance, as I've already done here, but the fact they don't come with all the same stuff. They do share some parts, but overwhelmingly, they do not have the same accessories. So, to start with, we do get an extra head for both of them. They're the same head, but the difference is in some slight paint app variations. So you get this like sort of anglerfish looking head sculpt here, which has like this lower mouth that's coming out of it in place of a lower jaw, so it moves. The eyes are different colors, so you've got white here versus green here. They're the same head though. Paint apps are going to vary slightly, and then of course the fins are different. So like this one is the red one, that's the purple one. But I really, really like this. It's weird, it's different, it's kind of nasty looking, so that's really cool. But they also both come with an arm. So the red one here gets this big monster arm, which is, it's much larger on the forearm. It has a huge, huge hand. So it definitely gets kind of like a power up in many ways. The purple guy, though, he did not get so lucky. He has like this malformed, like baby arm almost. So it's got this like big tumor at the elbow, basically. And this still does have some articulation. Like, it retains everything that the other arms do, but it's much less functional. And I say that in a way that is overwhelmingly positive, because while it maybe isn't as useful as a regular arm or hand on this guy, I like the ability to be able to change these things up. And quite honestly, it makes perfect sense that some of these guys are coming out of whatever, system that creates them looking really weird and mutated even worse, or there being some accidents or like mistakes or whatever. So like this guy, obviously, he's been through it a little bit, but I do like the idea behind that. Beyond that, though, they do get other stuff, and then they do, again, share a few accessories. So they both come with one of these. You get this little, like, putrid base almost. So this one goes with the purple accent one. This one goes with the red accent one. I guess there are other ones for each color. I honestly don't remember what colors exist beyond these two. So you've got these little bases. You can just sort of have them standing over them or something. They both come with a set of gripping hands. So these are the only extra hands you get outside of whatever comes on their extra arm. So both of them come with those. And then both of them come with this sort of gnarled bone, maybe coral, I don't know, some sort of dagger type of thing. So they both come with this on top of what you've got already. The red dude here comes with these. So he's got this like barbed club, and then he's got this other club with a bunch of skulls on it and like a big mouth on it with bone work all over it. They feel pretty good. They're not too heavy. They hold them well. Paint apps are pretty clean. I mean, they're dirty, but they're pretty clean. And then the purple dude here on your left comes with these. So he's got the same kind of club as the red guy, the main, like I guess the offhand weapon, but then he also has a paddle. I'm not a big fan of this one. It's not as exciting as the other stuff, but I get the idea behind it. Like, it makes sense that they would have reclaimed this from a victim or something like that. It is a little on the bendy side, but I don't really see that being much of an issue. And as a result, it's fairly lightweight, so you can hold it just fine. So, you know, these guys come with a decent amount of stuff. I really can't stress enough how much I love the arm idea. Even this one, like, I was kind of annoyed at first. I'm like, why would you give him this almost unusable arm? But then it makes sense the more I kind of think about it. Like, of course, some of these are going to be really weird and misshapen monstrosities. Of course, one of them is going to come out every now and again that has a wonky arm or a weird leg or a face that's missing a jaw or something like that. So while it maybe is an odd aesthetic choice or a choice from an articulation standpoint, I think it works really well to sell the idea of what these things are and where they come from and the idea behind it. So yeah, overall, these little guys are pretty cool. They're a lot of fun, I think is really the bigger thing. I've had a lot of fun with them. They're kind of hard to put down once you mess with them. They aren't the most dynamic figures you're ever going to experience. You know, that's fine. Not every figure is going to be that. But they work really well, and I think they sell the idea of what they're going for here with a very Cthulhu-heavy inspiration, you know, very fantasy, very pulp-looking in many ways. They look great next to each other. It'll look great if you only get one. There are some differences, so they're not all carbon copies with just different color palettes. They do have some nice accessory swamps, and in general, the accessories they come with are pretty cool. I even like the idea of having, you know, that little mutated, useless arm on them, because that does seem like something that could appear on one of these guys. It's weird for an action figure, but I think it works pretty well. So that's going to do it for this look at the StarArc Deep ones. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.